The rain-slicked windshield blurred the world outside as Elias gripped the steering wheel tighter, his knuckles whitening like they were holding onto the last thread of his unraveling life. Wyatt's head lolled against the passenger window, his steady breaths fogging the glass in lazy circles, oblivious to the storm raging inside Elias, the kind that had nothing to do with the Pacific Northwest downpour hammering the truck. In that split second, as lightning cracked the sky like a broken promise, Elias wondered if slamming on the brakes would shatter everything between them or finally set it free. They had been barreling down Interstate 5 for hours, the kind of road trip that started as a half-joking escape from Elias's latest heartbreak, a boyfriend who'd ghosted him after 2 years of whispered "I love yous" that turned out to be smoke. Wyatt, ever the straight-arrow fixer, had slapped him on the back at their favorite dive bar in Seattle's Capitol Hill and declared, "Screw that noise, man. We're hitting the coast. Big Sur. Tents, tacos, and zero cell service. You in?" Elias had nodded, forcing a grin, because saying no would mean admitting how much he needed this. Needed Wyatt's easy laugh, his unfiltered stories, the way he made the world feel less like a minefield for guys like Elias, who navigated it with one foot in the closet around his oldest friend. Elias glanced over at Wyatt now, the dashboard glow casting soft shadows across his face. At 29, Wyatt Kane was the picture of effortless all-American, sun-bleached blonde hair that always looked like he'd just stepped off a surfboard, even though he hadn't touched one since college. A jawline sharp enough to cut glass, dusted with perpetual stubble, and those hazel eyes that crinkled at the corners when he smiled, which was often. They'd met freshman year at the University of Washington, bonding over late-night cram sessions and cheap beer. Wyatt the star quarterback with a trail of cheerleaders, Elias the quiet film major sketching storyboards in the margins of his notebooks. Straight as an arrow, Wyatt called himself, and Elias had believed it. Had to, because wanting more would ruin the one solid thing in his life. The wipers slapped rhythmically, a metronome to Elias's thoughts. He'd packed light, a duffel with jeans, hoodies, and that worn journal where he scribbled half-formed screenplays about men who loved in the shadows. Wyatt had tossed in his guitar, a six-pack of IPAs, and a cooler of sandwiches from his mom's deli in Tacoma. Road rules, Wyatt had said, sliding into the truck with that boyish grin. No bullshit talks about exes until mile marker 200. Then we dive in. Elias had laughed it off, but now, with the miles ticking by, the weight pressed heavier. His ex, Jordan, had been the first guy he'd brought home to meet the family, cautiously, over Christmas in their cramped Queen and row house. Mom had baked pecan pie. Dad had grilled him about future plans. And Jordan? He'd bailed via text on New Year's, citing irreconcilable distances, leaving Elias staring at his phone in the glow of fireworks exploding over Elliott Bay. "You good over there, Eli?" Wyatt's voice cut through the hum of the engine, sleepy but warm, like aged whiskey. He stretched, his long legs bumping the glove box, flannel shirt riding up to reveal a sliver of tanned abs that Elias forced himself not to notice. "You're white-knuckling that will like it's about to bite you." Elias exhaled, loosening his grip. "Just the rain. Makes me think of that storm our junior year, remember? When we got stranded in the dorms, and you tried to surf the hallway on that cafeteria tray." Wyatt chuckled, deep and rumbling, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Hell yeah. Broke my ass, but you filmed the whole thing. Still got that video somewhere." He leaned over, punching Elias's arm lightly, the contact sending a jolt straight to Elias's chest. It was always like this, innocent touches that lingered in his mind like echoes. "Buried in my hard drive, next to your drunk karaoke of Wonderwall." Elias shot back, the banter a lifeline. They fell into easy rhythm, swapping stories as the highway curved south, leaving Seattle's steel spires for the endless green of the Olympics. Wyatt talked about his job at the construction firm in Bellevue, framing houses in the burbs, dreaming of his own crew someday. Gonna build something real, you know? Not just blueprints. Elias nodded, envying the simplicity, while he dodged questions about his freelance gigs editing indie shorts. Hollywood's calling, Wyatt always teased, but Elias knew the truth. Fear kept him chained to Seattle, scripting other people's loves because his own felt too fragile. By dusk, they crossed into Oregon, the rain easing to a misty drizzle that turned the world soft-edged. They pulled off at a roadside diner in Astoria, the kind with neon signs flickering, open 24/7, and booths sticky with decades of syrup. Over greasy burgers and black coffee, Wyatt finally breached the line. "All right, mile 200's in the rearview. Spill it, man. Jordan was a tool. What happened? Elias poked at his fries, the words sticking like tar. He said I was too intense. Like, I wanted more than he could give. It was half the truth. The rest was the nights Elias lay awake, wondering if Wyatt's laugh across the room at parties stirred something deeper than friendship. Wyatt's brow furrowed, that protective glint in his eye. Intense. That's code for him being a coward. You deserve someone who dives in head first, Eli. Like, waves crashing, no holding back. He paused, fork midway to his mouth, then added softer. You're the best guy I know. Gay, straight, whatever, doesn't change that. The whatever landed like a pebble in still water, ripples Elias ignored by signaling for the check. They hit the road again, Wyatt fiddling with the radio until it snagged on some indie folk station crooning about lost loves and open highways. The music wrapped around them, intimate in the cab's confines, and Elias let his mind wander to what-ifs. What if Wyatt knew? What if that night in college, after the championship win, when they'd crashed on the same futon, arms slung casual over shoulders, had tipped into something more? Night fell hard as they pushed into California, the truck's headlights carving tunnels through the dark. Wyatt dozed off again, head tipped back, lips parted in sleep. Elias stole glances, heart a traitor, until a sign for Redwood National Park loomed. Detour, he muttered to himself, veering off the interstate. The giants rose like ancient sentinels, trunks wider than the truck, branches blotting the stars. He parked on a gravel pullout, the engine ticking cool, and nudged Wyatt awake. Up, lazybones. Cathedral trees wait for no man. Wyatt groaned but followed, zipping his jacket against the chill. They wandered the trail by flashlight, beams dancing on moss-draped bark, the air thick with earth and pine. Silence stretched, companionable at first, then charged. Wyatt stopped under a massive redwood, tilting his head back. Feels like we're the only two souls in the world, huh? Elias's throat tightened. Yeah, just us. The words hung, heavy with subtext only he heard. Wyatt turned, his face illuminated, eyes searching Elias's in the dim light. For a heartbeat, the space between them crackled, like the storm earlier, poised to break. But Wyatt clapped his shoulder, breaking the spell. Race you back to the truck? And they ran, laughing into the night, Elias chasing the ghost of what might never be. As they piled back in, Wyatt cranked the heat, rubbing his hands together. One more push tomorrow, Big Sur by noon. Beaches, bonfires, the works. Elias nodded, starting the engine, but his mind replayed that moment under the trees, the almost touch. The highway unspooled ahead, a black ribbon toward unknown shores, and Elias wondered if the coast would wash away his secrets or drag them both under. The next morning dawned crisp, the California sun slicing through coastal fog like a promise half-kept. They crossed the border with coffee from a roadside stand. Wyatt's black, Elias's loaded with cream, and the landscape shifted, evergreens giving way to rolling hills dotted with vineyards. Wyatt had the playlist on shuffle, Springsteen growling about thunder roads, and they sang along off-key, windows down, wind whipping their hair. It was the kind of freedom Elias craved, the open road stripping life to essentials. 2 friends, a truck, and miles of possibility. Remember that time in Portland? Wyatt said, feet propped on the dash. Rain festival? We got soaked chasing that food cart with the best damn voodoo donuts. Elias grinned, the memory a balm. You slipped in a puddle, face planted right in front of that goth girl you were trying to impress. I had to drag your muddy ass home. Wyatt threw his head back laughing. And you called it artistic commitment. Smooth save, Eli. Their eyes met in the rear view, a shared history flickering there. Years of covering for each other. Wyatt punching a frat bro who'd called Elias a slur after too many shots. Elias nursing Wyatt through a breakup with a sorority girl who'd cheated with his roommate. They'd been each other's anchor, unspoken vows in a world that didn't always make space for the messy edges. But as the miles blurred, Elias felt the undercurrent pull stronger. Wyatt's stories veered personal. His folks' divorce when he was 12, the way his dad vanished to Reno with a waitress, leaving Mom to sling sandwiches and Wyatt to man up too soon. I don't do relationships well, Wyatt admitted, staring out at the Golden Hills. Too afraid I'll bolt like him. That's why it's easier with, casual stuff. No strings. Elias swallowed, the irony bitter. Strings? He was woven through with them, frayed and taut. Casual's overrated. Sometimes you gotta risk the knot. Wyatt shot him a sidelong look, thoughtful. Deep man. You been reading those screenplays again? But there was no tease in it, just a quiet respect that made Elias's chest ache. They stopped for lunch in a sleepy town called Haven Point, a cluster of clapboard shops hugging a creek that wound toward the sea. The diner was all chrome and vinyl, locals nursing sodas and swapping gossip about the latest wildfire scare. Over BLTs, Wyatt pulled out his phone, signal spotty but enough for a quick scroll. Check this. Big Sir's got that hidden cove, Pfeiffer Beach. Purple sand, keyhole arch. We're doing it. Elias watched him, the way Wyatt's fingers tapped the screen, quick and sure. He thought of Jordan again, unbidden. How their last fight had been over a trip like this, Jordan bailing because straight guys only vibes from Wyatt's invites. Elias had defended their friendship fiercely, but now, with Wyatt's knee brushing his under the table, he questioned everything. Afternoon brought the coast proper, Highway 1 twisting like a lover's spine along sheer drops to the Pacific. Elias pulled over at a vista point, ocean of vast indigo expanse crashing against rocks below. They hiked down a dirt path to a secluded stretch, boots crunching shells, salt air sharp on their tongues. Wyatt stripped to his board shorts without preamble, diving into the surf with a whoop. Elias hung back, shedding shirt and jeans, the sun warm on his skin, lean muscle from weekend hikes, a faint scar on his ribs from a biking wipeout in college that Wyatt had stitched up with safety pins and duct tape. "Come on, chicken," Wyatt yelled, waves foaming around his waist. Elias waded in, the cold shock stealing his breath. They wrestled in the shallows, Wyatt's hands on his shoulders, laughter bubbling up as salt stung their eyes. It was innocent, boyish, but Elias's pulse thrummed with awareness. The press of Wyatt's body, slick and strong, the brush of thighs in the undertow. He pulled away too quick, splashing water to cover the flush creeping up his neck. Back on the beach, towels spread on driftwood, they cracked open the IPAs, foam spilling golden in the fading light. Wyatt strummed his guitar, chords lazy and low, singing a half-remembered tune about ramblin' men and hearts on the mend. Elias leaned back on elbows, sand gritty between toes, watching fireflies wink against the dusk. "This," Wyatt said, setting the guitar aside, "this is what life's for. No drama, just us." Elias's heart stuttered. "Yeah, just us." The words echoed the redwoods, heavier now. Wyatt's gaze lingered, something unspoken flickering there, curiosity, or wishful thinking on Elias's part. Night crept in with a chill, stars pricking the velvet sky. They drove the last leg to their campsite near Julia Pfeiffer Burns State Park, pitching tents by lantern light amid eucalyptus groves. Dinner was campfire chili from cans, spoons clinking, stories flowing freer with the beer. Wyatt talked dreams. A cabin in the Cascades, kids someday. If I can figure out how not to screw it up like Dad. Elias shared snippets of his latest script, a road trip tale of two guys chasing ghosts, veering close to truth. As embers died to glow, Wyatt tossed another log, sparks swirling up. "Eli, thanks for coming. I needed this too. Work's been kicking my ass, and shit, feels like I'm stuck." Elias met his eyes across the fire, flames dancing in Wyatt's irises. "You're not stuck. You're just figuring the map." His voice caught, the proximity electric. Wyatt reached over, hand on Elias's knee, a friendly gesture, but it burned. "Sleep on it," Wyatt murmured, standing to douse the fire. "Tomorrow, that cove. Epic shit." In his tent, Elias lay awake, canvas walls thin as paper, Wyatt's breathing a rhythm next door. The ocean whispered secrets, and Elias traced patterns on the sleeping bag, imagining fingers instead of nylon. Change hung in the air, thick as fog, and for the first time, he didn't dread the dawn. Sunrise painted the cliffs in pinks and golds, the Pacific a mirror to the sky as Elias zipped his tent, coffee brewing on the camp stove. Wyatt emerged rumpled, hair a wild halo, grinning like the day was his to conquer. Morning, sunshine. "Fuel up, we're hiking to McQuay Falls today." That waterfall straight into the sea. Magic. They broke camp quick, truck rumbling down the narrow road to the trailhead, air humming with eucalyptus and brine. The path wound through cypress groves, roots twisting like veins over sandstone, until it opened to the overlook. Turquoise water spilling 80 feet over a cliff, mist rising where it met the surf in a perpetual kiss. Elias leaned on the railing, wind tugging his shirt, the sight stealing breath. "It's like a painting," he said, voice low. "One you step into." Wyatt sidled up, shoulder to shoulder. "Or a movie." You direct the hell out of this. His arm draped casual around Elias's neck, pulling him close in that bro hug way, but it lingered, Wyatt's warmth seeping through flannel. Elias froze, scent of pine soap and salt filling his lungs. Then Wyatt pulled back, oblivious, snapping a photo on his phone. Smile, man. Memories. The hike down was steeper, switchbacks hugging the cliff, waves crashing below like applause. They reached the beach at low tide, purple sand gritty underfoot, the keyhole arch framing a view of endless blue. Wyatt kicked off boots, racing to the water, while Elias lingered, sketching the scene in his journal, lines capturing the arch's curve, Wyatt's silhouette against foam. It felt like framing a confession, each stroke a risk. They swam, bodies cutting through cold currents, emerging shivering and alive. Lunch was picnic-style: cheese, crackers, apples from the cooler, sprawled on a blanket amid tide pools teeming with anemones. Wyatt propped on an elbow, hazel eyes tracing the horizon. Ever think about leaving Seattle? Chasing the director dream for real? Elias bit into an apple, juice sharp. All the time. But roots, family, it'd be weird without the constants. He meant Wyatt, the ellipsis heavy. Wyatt nodded slow, plucking at a blade of seagrass. Yeah, constants. Like us. He paused, gaze flicking to Elias's face, searching. You're the one person who gets me, Eli. No filters, no judgments. Even when I'm a mess. The vulnerability cracked something in Elias, words bubbling up unbidden. Same. You're everything, Wyatt. The rock when I'm sinking. Too much, too close. He looked away, pulse hammering. Wyatt sat up, hand on Elias's arm, firm. Hey, look at me. Elias did, and Wyatt's expression was raw, unguarded. I mean it. Whatever shit life's throwing, we've got this. Brothers, right? The word brothers landed like a door slamming, sealing Elias in. He forced a nod, smile brittle. Right, brothers. Afternoon blurred into exploration, climbing rocks slick with kelp, skipping stones across pools, Wyatt's laughter echoing off the arches. But the ease frayed at edges, Elias catching himself staring too long, Wyatt's touches turning tentative, like he sensed the shift. By golden hour, they climbed back, sweat salted and sun-kissed, the falls now a silver thread in the light. Camp that night was bonfire on the beach, driftwood crackling, sparks racing stars. Wyatt broke out the guitar again, strumming softer tunes, Bon Iver covers, voice husky from Salt. Elias added harmonies, their voices weaving, the fire's glow painting them in amber. Beer loosened tongues. Wyatt confessed a fling gone wrong last month, a girl from work who'd wanted more, him pulling back scared. What if I'm wired wrong for this? Like Dad, chasing highs, ditching the real. Elias leaned forward, elbows on knees. You're not him. You're Wyatt Kane, loyal, funny, the guy who'd drive cross-country to fix a friend's heart. That's real. Wyatt's eyes held his, firelight flickering doubt to something warmer. And you? That script of yours. It's about guys like us, isn't it? Road trips, unspoken stuff. Elias's breath hitched. Yeah, unspoken. The air thickened, charged, the ocean's roar a distant drum. Wyatt set the guitar down, shifting closer on the log. Eli, there's something I've been chewing on. Since college, maybe. You and me, it's always felt different, deeper. His hand found Elias's, tentative, fingers lacing. Am I crazy? Elias's world tilted, heart slamming. No. God, no. He didn't pull away, couldn't. Wyatt's touch a lifeline, rough palm against his own. They sat like that, breath sinking, the fire popping between confessions. Then Wyatt leaned in, hesitant, lips brushing Elias's cheek, soft, testing. Tell me to stop. But Elias turned, closing the gap, their mouths meeting in a rush of heat and salt and years denied want. It was clumsy, urgent, Wyatt's stubble scraping, hands fisting shirts, the kiss deepening like a wave pulling under. Elias tasted beer and fear and fire, Wyatt's low groan vibrating through him. They broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed, Wyatt's eyes wide with wonder and terror. Fuck, Eli. What are we doing? Whatever we want, Elias whispered, reckless alive. The night stretched endless, possibilities blooming in the dark. But as they stumbled to the tents, hands still linked, Elias glimpsed the storm clouds gathering offshore, black and roiling, a warning in the wind. The morning after the kiss dawned too bright, sunlight slicing through the tent zipper like an accusation. Elias woke with Wyatt's scent on his skin, faint cologne and campfire smoke, and the ghost of lips still tingling. They'd tumbled into Elias's tent after the fire died, clothes shed in a frenzy of hands and whispers, bodies exploring what words never dared. Wyatt's touch had been reverent, hesitant at first, then hungry, mapping Elias's chest, hips, the curve of his spine with calloused fingers that trembled. It wasn't just sex, it was unraveling. Wyatt's breaths ragged against Elias's neck, murmuring, "Is this okay?" Like a prayer, Elias guiding him through the vulnerability, their rhythms sinking in the canvas cocoon. Now, Elias stirred, reaching for Wyatt's warmth, but the space beside him was empty, sleeping bag rumpled and cold. Heart sinking, he zipped out into the chill dawn, coffee pot hissing on the stove. Wyatt stood at the cliff's edge, back turned, staring at the sea, shoulders rigid under his hoodie, hands shoved deep in pockets. "Morning," Elias ventured, voice rough, pouring 2 mugs. He handed one over, fingers brushing, but Wyatt flinched subtle, taking it without meeting eyes. "Morning," Wyatt sipped, steam curling, the silence stretching taut as the horizon line. Elias leaned on the truck, casual as he could muster. "Last night was..." Wyatt cut in, sharp, intense. "Yeah." He turned then, hazel eyes shadowed, jaw tight. "Eli, I shit. I don't know what that was." The words gutted him, casual cruelty in the dawn light. "It was us," Elias said, steady despite the crack inside. "Real. You said it yourself, deeper." Wyatt raked a hand through his hair, pacing the gravel. "I know what I said. Felt. But I'm not. I mean, I've never." He trailed off, frustration etching lines around his mouth. "This changes everything. You're my best friend, man. What if I fuck it up? Like Dad, bolting when it gets messy." Elias stepped closer, desperate to bridge the gap. "It's not messy. It's honest. We don't have to label it. Straight, gay, whatever. Just, don't run." But Wyatt's gaze darted away, to the waves churning below. "I need to think. Drive or something." He grabbed keys from the tailgate, movements jerky. "I'll be back. Promise." Elias watched the truck peel out, dust clouding the air, leaving him alone with the echo of tires on dirt. He sank to the sand, mug cooling in his hands, replaying the night. The way Wyatt's laugh had turned to gasps, bodies tangled in discovery. Betrayal stung fresh, not from malice, but fear. Wyatt's retreat a mirror to every rejection Elias had armored against. Hours blurred. Elias hiked the falls alone, mist wetting his face like tears, journal filling with frantic scrawls. What if love's just a cliff, and we're both falling? By noon, the truck returned, Wyatt emerging quieter, offering a half smile. "Cleared my head. Let's talk for real." They drove south, Highway 1 hugging the coast, windows down to let wind scour the tension. Wyatt gripped the wheel, knuckles pale. "I freaked because it's new. Scary, but good scary. Like jumping a wave you know might wipe you." Elias exhaled, relief tentative. "Yeah? Not just a one-off." Wyatt glanced over, hand squeezing his thigh. Brief, electric. "Nah, more. But slow, okay? I gotta unpack this." "For me." They camped that night near Limekill State Park, ferns draping redwood ruins like forgotten lace. Bonfire small, intimate. Wyatt's guitar idle as they talked. Deep dives into fears. Wyatt admitting the pressure of straight guy expectations from his crew, the bar buddies who'd rib him over anything soft. Elias shared his own scars. Coming out to Mom at 19, her quiet hug. Dad's awkward. "As long as you're happy, son." The parade of hookups masking loneliness. As stars wheeled overhead, Wyatt pulled him close, kiss softer now, exploratory. No rush, just presence. Lips tracing jaw, hands gentle on hips. They made love under the quilts, slower. Wyatt's whispers, "You're beautiful," grounding Elias in the moment. Afterward, curled together, Wyatt's heartbeat a steady drum against his back, Elias dared believe. This could be the rewrite, their story unbound. But dawn brought texts, Wyatt's phone buzzing insistent. He checked, face paling. "Work emergency. Site collapse in Bellevue. Mom's freaking, says I gotta head back." Elias sat up, gut twisting. "Now? We're halfway down the coast." "I know. Shit." Wyatt dressed quick, movements mechanical. "You stay, finish the trip? I'll fly back, sort it then. We figure us." The goodbye at the airport shuttle stop in Monterey was rushed, hug fierce. Wyatt's "call me every hour" a vow. Elias watched the van disappear, alone again, the road ahead mocking with its curves. He drove on solo, Pfeiffer Beach's purple sands now solitary, the arch framing empty waves. Doubt crept. Was it real, or just isolation's illusion? By Bixby Bridge, sunset bleeding red, his phone rang. Wyatt, voice strained. Eli, listen. I told my buddy Jake about us. Last night, after you crashed. He laughed, called it a phase. Bro, you're straight, girls only. Got in my head. Elias pulled over, engine idling. And a pause, heavy. I don't know anymore. It's too much. Maybe we pump the brakes. Friends first. The line crackled like the betrayal Elias felt blooming. Friends. Right. He hung up, tears hot on cheeks. The bridges span a metaphor for the chasm widening. The final days blurred into penance. Solo hikes through Ventana Wilderness, trails steep with manzanita and oak, each step pounding out the ache. Elias camped under star-pricked skies, journal a confessional, entries raw with anger, love's sharp edges. He touched me like I was salvation, then vanished like smoke. He thought of Seattle waiting, its rain a shroud, but pushed south to San Simeon, Hearst Castle's excess a stark contrast to his stripped heart. On the last night, holed up in a motel in Cambria, faded quilt, neon vacancy buzzing, Elias called. Wyatt answered quick, voice thick. Eli, God, I'm sorry. The site's a mess, but that's not. I miss you. Then come back, Elias pleaded, vulnerability cracking. Fight for it. I am. Just scared shitless. Wyatt's breath hitched. Grew up thinking love's a straight line. Girl, house, kids. You're the curve that changes everything. They talked till dawn, words weaving tentative bridges. Wyatt meeting a therapist via Zoom, unpacking the labels. Elias vowing patience. No more hiding. We're not broken, Wyatt said finally. Just bent toward each other. Elias flew home 2 days later, Seattle's gray welcome a soft landing. Wyatt met him at Seattle-Tacoma, sign scrawled My Constant, in Sharpie, grinned sheepish. They drove to Capitol Hill, Wyatt's hand on his knee the whole way, solid, claiming. Months unfolded like film reels, tentative dates masked as hangs, coffee in Fremont, hikes in Discovery Park, Wyatt's crew none the wiser at first. Tension peaked at a backyard barbecue in Tacoma. Jake's beer-fueled jabs, still playing for the other team. Kane? Wyatt's face stormed dark. Then, yeah, actually. With the best guy I know. Silence. Then claps on backs. Awkward, but accepting. Elias's script sold. A small indie about two friends on a road trip. Unspoken love surfacing like tides. Wyatt read the draft, eyes wet. That's us. Make me look cooler. Theirs wasn't fairy tale smooth. Fights over Wyatt's late nights, Elias's insecurities flaring, but each storm cleared to deeper waters. 1 year on, under those same redwoods, Wyatt knelt in the duff, ring simple silver. No labels, just forever. Marry me. Elias pulled him up, kiss salt sweet. Yes, all in. In Seattle's embrace, they built, a craftsman in Ballard, garden herbs for mom's recipes, dreams shared over morning coffee. Love, Elias learned, wasn't a cliff but a coast. Rugged, relentless, beautiful in its bends. And in Wyatt's arms, he found home, not despite the straight lines they'd redrawn, but because of them.